right, well, good afternoon, my algebra peeps. This is the first video of our second week of break, lockdown, quarantine, whatever you want to call it. This is for March 23rd. I hope that you're staying safe. I hope you're doing what you need to do. Yes, that's my dogs barking. My husband's just now getting home. I hope everything's well with you. Today we're going to continue factoring using greatest common factor. We're going to do a few. This will be our last day doing this. We'll do something different tomorrow. But if you look at this one, it's 14a plus 21a squared plus 21a cubed. Well, when I look at 14, 21, and 21, the first thing that I see that they have in common is a 7. So I'm going to pull that 7 out. And then I look at them and I see that they all have an a. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that a out also. So then I look at 7a and 14a. Well, in order to get 7 to become 14, I'm going to have to multiply that by 2. I already have the a, so I don't need anything else, so I'm done with that one. Then, to get 7 to become 21, I'm going to multiply by 3. So I'm going to put that there. And then to get a to become a squared, I have to multiply it by a, so that's going to be 3a. Then 7, once again, multiply by 3 to get that 21. And then a times a to the third, or a to become a to the third, would have to be multiplied by a squared. And so that would just be by pulling out the greatest common factor. That would be how you would work that one. Okay? In number 8, you have 10n cubed minus 9n squared plus n. And they don't have any numbers in common, so we aren't even going to touch the numbers. But they do have a letter in common. All of them have an n, so that's going to be my GCF. That's my greatest common factor, is they all have an n. So they didn't have any numbers, so I'm going to keep the 10 just as it is. In order to make n become n to the third power, I would have to multiply it by n squared. In order to make n become negative 9n squared, I'd have to multiply by negative 9 because I don't have any numbers. And to make n become n squared, I'd have to multiply by an n. And then, since I already have an n, I need to keep this place right here, so I'm going to put, to make n become n, I'm just going to have to multiply by 1 because it's going to be itself. Okay? Now, on this one, I look and I have an 8, I have a 24, and I have a 12. So the only number that I know of that goes into all three of those, 8, 24, and 12, is a 4. So I'm going to pull that 4 out. Then I have an x to the 7th, an x to the 6th, and an x to the 5th. Well, an x to the 5th will go into all of those, so I'm going to pull out an x to the 5th. Well, 4 times negative 2 would give me this negative 8. X to the 5th times x to the 2nd would give me x to the 7th. 4 times 6 would give me 24. X to the 5th times x would give me x to the 6th. Then 4 times 3 would give me 12. And I already have an x to the 5th, so that's all I need. Okay? And then let's take a look at number 9. Number 9, I have a 28, I have an 8, and I have a 36, and they're all negative. So if they're all negative, I know the GCF I'm going to pull out is going to be a negative. And 28, 8, and 36 are all divisible by 4 also, so I'm going to pull out a negative 4. I can't pull out a v because 36 doesn't have a v, so it's just going to be negative 4 as my GCF. Negative 4 times 7 would give me a negative 28, and I'm going to have to keep the v squared because I don't have anything to multiply that with. Then negative 4 times 2 would give me a negative 8, and I'm going to keep the v since I didn't have anything to multiply that with. And then negative 4 times a 9 would give me a 36. And so that would be that if we were dividing that out, if we were factoring it by its GCF. One other thing I wanted to show y'all today before we end is, you know, if you remember back in, like, I don't even remember what grade y'all learned how to factor numbers, but suppose you were factoring, let's say 48. Okay. So if you were factoring 48, you started like this. Do y'all remember this? Taking you back on the day. You did 2 and 24, and then 2 couldn't break down, but you could break down 24 into 2 and 12. Then you could break 12 down into 2 and 6. Then you could break 6 down into 2 and 3. And so your prime factorization would be 2 to the 4th power times 3. Do y'all remember doing that? Long time ago, back when y'all were babies. 2 to the 4th power times 3. But sometimes you had numbers like this, 37. And 37 doesn't have anything that it breaks down to. The only thing you can multiply 37 by is 1 in itself. That's its only factors. And remember, we called this prime. Well, you can also have prime polynomials, because what if you had something like this? Let's say 5x cubed plus 7y squared plus 9z. Well, if I look at that, 5, 7, and 9 don't have any common factors. X, Y, and Z aren't common letters. They're not the same letters, so they can't be multiplied by the same thing. 5 and 7 are prime. 9's not prime, but its only factors are 1, 3 in itself, and that doesn't go into 5 and 7. So this right here, if you couldn't take a GCF out of it, this would be called a prime polynomial. And you have some of those. So if you run across one that doesn't seem like it factors, then there are such things as prime polynomials. And don't think, oh, because you can't think of anything that you're doing something wrong. If you look at it and you can't find anything that factors out, it's prime. So there are such things. Today, I just wanted to give a shout out to Elizabeth, because Elizabeth completed 100% of her pi in ALEX. And one other thing I wanted to say is, in ALEX, I went through and I put you all into Algebra 1 pi. I took you out of the 8th grade pi and I put you all in Algebra 1 pi. And I have to say, I was kind of disappointed because I looked and some of you have not been on ALEX at all. You need to get on ALEX. You need to be doing some math. I know we're not testing this year. I know that the president canceled all testing, but I do know that the skills that we're learning and we should be learning, you're going to be expected to know in math classes upcoming. That's why I'm doing these. Trust me, I have other things I'd rather be doing too. I do like talking to y'all, and I like keeping in touch, but I have other things. I'm in the middle of watching an awesome series on Netflix that I can't get enough of, that I've been staying up. If you haven't watched All American, I highly recommend it. It's a good show. But you have to be doing some math. You need to be keeping up with what we're doing. You're going to need this in your next level math classes. So if you're sitting at home and you're not doing anything, take 30 minutes, take 25 minutes a day. Do some math. You need to start doing that. Some of you haven't logged on at all, and it shows. If you've forgotten your username and password, send me a message through email. I will gladly answer you and send it back to you, but you need to be doing some work. I do not want you to be behind when you get into geometry and Algebra 2 because of this issue that we're having right now in the world. The world's not going to stop for this. You're still going to have to know this information. Y'all have a blessed day. If you need anything, email me. I'll be more than glad to help you out with anything. Love y'all, and I miss y'all. I'll talk to y'all soon.